Voilà, on enchaîne donc tout de suite et nous allons parler de marketing avec un head-to-head original entre monsieur Nance d'Emarsys, le CMO d'Emarsys, et Alexandra Simion, Head of Marketing de BrandAlley. Il y a du son partout. Nous aurons donc une keynote en anglais, donc si vous n'avez pas encore les casques, vous pouvez aller les prendre à l'entrée, et sinon vous pouvez les mettre sur vos oreilles. Et, cette keynote, on posera sans doute des questions, enfin il y aura la possibilité de poser des questions pendant la keynote, n'hésitez pas à lever le bras, les micros seront autour de vous et je ne serai pas loin de toute façon. Alan, you have the microphones, you get the... It's okay there? Pour le micro, c'est bon? It's a number one.
Working.
Le numéro 1.
I'm loud, but
Yeah.
Not that loud.
can we turn
Somebody
the
can help? Ah, just a second, Alan.
perhaps turn the mic on? I see the gentleman coming.
La technique.
He's got that fast
Yours, it's okay?
Mine is fine, yeah.
On va tout de suite...
Hello? There we go.
Ah,
This one's working.
This one is okay.
This one's working.
Just a second.
Perhaps give him just 1 minute.
Yeah, we keep time for you.
We have time. We have time.
On va peut-être essayer avec ce micro en régie. J'ai le numéro 2. Just try. Hop.
Think.
Ah,
oh,
le 2, it's okay.
I have two
thank
now.
Okay.
Okay, welcome.
Voilà. So you have the remote control. Everything is okay?
Yes.
So now it's your turn.
Yes, sir. Let's have fun.
Thank you.
If anyone in the audience wondered whether I am from Paris, France, the answer is no. I'm from Atlanta, which is in the United States, and today's keynote will be given in English. I hope everyone is okay with that and participates. I think the biggest thing that Alex and I would like to do today is to thank everybody for being in this room. We're in the most beautiful city in the world, and it's absolutely beautiful outside, and we're all choosing to be in this room together. So I don't know if that makes us really, really smart, or we should be outside. But what our commitment today during this keynote is really simple. We have both been involved in building e-commerce businesses. We know how difficult it is, and we also know that you are investing your most valuable resource with us today, which is your time. The single most valuable thing that you have is your time. And so Alex and I spent a lot of time really putting together a keynote today that we think is we hope is not only engaging, we also hope and very much believe that these are the 7 metrics that if you're in the retail e-commerce business, these are the things you should be focused on. We want today's keynote to be as engaging as possible. I can assure everyone in this room that Alex nor I travel the world so we can hear each other speak. I think we do this because we have a passion for e-commerce, we have a passion for retail, we have a passion for marketing tech, and we're excited to be here. So for everyone that's in the room, please, there are no bad questions. Please ask any question that you want, and I think we'll get started. I think first and foremost, let me introduce Emarsys really quickly, but not the company. What I want to introduce is really our point of view. And I think that our point of view is the thing that would matter to everyone in this room, because I believe wholeheartedly that it is applicable to every single person's business that's inside this room, and candidly inside this entire expo facility. So Emarsys is the largest independent marketing platform company in the world. And to me, what that really means is that from a business perspective, we understand data at scale, and we really want to share today the 7 metrics that we think will drive a business. So we're a large enterprise, we've got large e-commerce clients, but the most important thing we can share with you today is the data and the metrics that we think drive the most successful clients that we have. BrandAlley being one of them. Thank you for being here with us. We do want you to engage as much as possible with us on social media. Here's my Twitter handle and Alex's Twitter handle, Emarsys and BrandAlley UK. Please participate. So I shared this real quickly point of view. As I travel the world and give keynotes in various parts of the world, there's a secret that I feel like we know and talk about that no one else is talking about, and it's really our passion and obsession on a daily basis. And that secret, which I believe everyone in this room knows, is that human-driven personalization doesn't scale. At the end of the day, no matter how many people you have on your staff, it is impossible for you to scale a personalized interaction with every single one of your members, every single one of your customers. It's impossible. And if you think about this from a perspective of why is it impossible, the reason it's impossible to scale human-driven personalization is because the world changed. I think everyone in this room knows, but please hear what I'm about to say. The world didn't change just because it went digital. That's not why the world changed. The world changed because as retailers and e-commerce people, we used to live in a world where we got to choose how to interact with the consumer. That's where the world changed. We used to live in a world, on the left-hand side of this screen, we used to live in a world where you, as a retailer or e-commerce person, you got to pick where your store location was. You got to pick your store hours. You got to pick which products you were going to sell. And now we live in a customer-driven world where they're choosing the location. They're choosing the hours of operation. They're oftentimes choosing and suggesting which products that you should sell. So the world simply changed, and as everybody that's in this room knows, it's changing fast, not just changing. And Alex, you and I are in a business where the rate of change is almost incomprehensible. And let me give you a live example. Not in the last 100 years, not in the last 100 years, in the last 10 years, from 2008 until 2010, now the 5 most valuable brands in the world, are Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. These brands are winning a digital economy. They're winning, and I think everybody in this room knows this. And so what we want to share with you today is Emarsys supports over 2,000 brands around the world. 2,000 brands around the world, from Sydney, Australia, to mainland China and Hong Kong, into Europe, into Paris. We have a wonderful office here, a set of wonderful clients, and into the United States. And this is the point of view that we want to share with everybody in this keynote. Our 750 employees around the world are from 75 different countries. They speak 35 languages. I apologize that I only speak one language, which is English, but I'm excited to be here with you today. And so with that, I really want to get into the meat of the keynote. The structure of today's keynote is basically going to be this. Alex is going to tell us the history of BrandAlley, some of the challenges, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. And then I'm going to interact with her through a series of Q&A questions around the 7 metrics we think everyone in this room should be focused on. And at that point in the keynote, I hope everyone in the audience, if you have a question about any of these keynotes, please ask. And so with that, Alex, thank you so much for traveling here from London. And why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience about BrandAlley.
My pleasure. Has stopped working. Now it's fine. So yes, thank you so much for having us. It's lovely to be here. And some of you might actually be aware of BrandAlley because everything started here in France. So BrandAlley was created here. You're probably still aware of the BrandAlley France. I'm here to talk about BrandAlley UK though. So BrandAlley UK is the #1 flash sale e-commerce in the United Kingdom. It's been on the market since 2008. It's been quite a while since we started this journey. I've only been with the company for just about 2 years now, but it's just that times are getting more exciting now. So in terms of BrandAlley, we have just close to 3 million members in the UK. We're a closed website, so that means that you would have to create an account and become a member to see our lovely products. And we also work with about 500 brands directly, such as Hugo Boss, LK Bennett, Karen Millen, Ola Keeley, Ted Baker, and the list can go on and on and on. But what's really important and the things we wanted to go through is that And what some of the people don't know is that BrandAlley UK has had a bit of a bumpy road in the last couple of years, and we wanted to go through what we did and what we think it worked for us to build our e-com platform, to build our acquisition, marketing, and product strategies, because I know how tough the times are for e-com businesses right now, and we were actually just looking just before this talk about a news, I can't remember the retailer, so it was another bad news about another e-com that has had a loss in the last year in profit. So we're going to focus on what has worked for BrandAlley UK in terms of driving the e-com business and what we think could and should be applied to other e-com businesses as well.
Great. Everybody ready? All righty. All righty. So I think everybody in this room knows that the single most valuable thing that your e-commerce business has is the customer who's already purchased from you. Customer acquisition is incredibly expensive, right? Incredibly expensive. And so, Alex, from your perspective in BrandAlley, when you think about retention, not only from a percentage number, but from a strategy perspective, what journey have you guys gone through as you think about your e-commerce business and you think about Alan Nance having already purchased from you, and what does that mean to your business?
Yeah, so in terms of retention rate, we actually had a bit of a grim story, to call it like that. So it's really difficult to basically get loyalty these days because the product offering and services out there, there's so many options, and it's really hard to basically to have the best offer and the best services. So it's really tough to gain loyalty these days. But the way we look, so we started last year by being on a negative figure in terms of retention. I know it's terrible, but these things actually happens, and it's really important to know how to make it back on track. So in terms of retention, everyone knows that it's a lot cheaper to actually win back a customer than acquire a new customer. And the reason is that that customer has purchased from you, knows what to expect, so it's a lot easier to make that customer come back. In terms of our retention rate, as I was saying, we have a bit of a tough journey. So, for example, last year we are kind of losing active customers to about a rate of 20% a month, which is incredibly high. Right now, we have a fantastic retention rate of 60%, and of course, we're aiming for a very much higher rate, as any other businesses will probably do. We're aiming for about 70% retention rate. And I know the next question is going to be how.
That was going to be my question, which is how. But if, real quickly, every single person in the audience that could name to an exact percentage what your retention rate is with your customer base, raise your hand.
It's a tough number.
Tough number?
Someone there?
There's like 3 people in the audience. Here's what I would tell everybody. This number is even for Emarsys, I can tell you for Emarsys, this is the single most important number that we track, and every single person in this audience needs to track this number. If you don't know exactly what your customer retention rate is, leave this conference this afternoon, go back to your office, and figure out what this number is, because it's that important.
I think it's really important for any marketing strategy, and the way we've kind of managed to overcome that is, as Alan was saying, is trying to figure out what the customer wants. So instead of bringing the products we think might sell or the products that we think that might do well for the business, we started looking at what customers actually want to buy. So we have large amounts of data that is able to tell us predictive behavior. So for example, if someone has purchased with us once, twice, or 3 times now, we have the relevant data to tell us, well, this customer is more likely to buy, let's say, Ted Baker. So our buyers and merchandise will know to focus on specific products or brands to actually make sure that we keep these customers coming back pretty much every month, I would say at this point.
So if retention is what you've been focused on, and I'm encouraging everyone in this room to be focused on retention, we all know that the market's big. The reason e-commerce is so exciting is because technically you have millions and millions and millions and millions of people around the world who are your potential customers. So from an acquisition growth perspective, how are BrandAlley in the UK finding this balance between retention and acquisition? And is it an internal debate? Do you feel like the strategy is aligned, and is everybody viewing this the same way? And please share a little.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say probably for BrandAlley, the acquisition part has always been slightly more important than retention, and not because we don't care about retention. It's purely because we kind of had retention sorted out after a while, and the next, let's say, problem to fix was acquisition. So it's just one at a time. So in terms of acquisition, for us, we've decided we want 30% of the sales to come from new customers. So the next point would be how we're going to acquire these new customers and new members, and how we're going to make them convert, because that's the most important things. Everyone can drive new members. It's not that complicated to drive acquisition, but it's just how you're going to make them convert, how you're going to make them make a first purchase, and then comes back to retention, and how you're going to make them make a second purchase and third purchase.
So real quick follow-up question. Is your acquisition group and retention group one group, separate? Are the roles, like as a marketer, if I'm on your team, am I doing some acquisition work and some retention work, or are the teams divided?
So the teams are divided, but there is a big overlap. And the reason there is a big overlap is that the way we approach acquisition is by trying to target potential customers which are very similar to our current database, which everyone knows under the name of lookalikes. So that's the reason there's a big overlap. So for example, let's say we have a new brand coming, and we want to make sure we attract new customers for this new brand. So we would look at our current database and see from the current database, how many customers are buying this particular new brand, and then we will try to find lookalike audiences based on current customers. And the reason we do it that way is because we have a lot of data on our customers, which makes sense to use it when you do acquisition as well. And ever since we've started doing it this way, we've actually managed to cut down on our acquisition cost by 50%. So that means that we've just spent more to acquire even more new customers, which is really, really great.
Great feedback. I will tell everyone in the room, as I travel and work with marketers all around the world, this idea of using your first-party data, the data that's already in your CRM or already in your customer database, to then model your acquisition strategy is one of those things that seems so obvious, but I can share with you, not nearly enough people are doing that.
That's true. Because it's like you have, for example, you know where your customers are living, you know where they're buying, you know what they look at on your website. And the beautiful thing is that Facebook actually allows you, for example, to use that data when looking for potential new customers. So it's widely available to use. It's just another fact if people are actually using it.
So if the first two metrics that we shared with you are retention, we're encouraging everyone to know. The second thing we'd share with you is that acquisition growth is important, but we believe, I think Alex and I both believe, and Emarsys believes as a company, is that if you get really, really good at retention, that first-party data that you have is now an enormous platform that you can build your acquisition strategy on. So never lose sight of that. So here's a question. I have been in the marketing technology industry my entire career. I've been in the business since 2000, so I'm aging myself a little bit. But I can tell everyone in this room, at least every other year, at a minimum, sometimes every year, there's an article that says email's dead, right? Email's going to be replaced by social, email's going to be replaced by this, email's dead. However, statistically, it continues to be the #1 driver for e-commerce and retailers. And if you look at the list, the return on marketing investment of email is double its next closest competitor. So Alex, my question for you is, assuming you don't believe that email is going to die,
No.
what is BrandAlley's point of view on email as a channel? How do you view it? Are you trying to innovate in it? What kind of engagement metrics are you looking for?
I think probably the first thing is that when someone says that email is going to die next year, in 10 years' time, and so on, it's assuming that everyone has the same journey towards your website, and it's not true. The way you target customer for acquisition on multiple channels like Facebook, Google, Bing, and so on, that customer will continue to keep the same journey and path towards your website after conversion. So assuming that you're only going to target that customer through email is, again, ridiculous. But no, I don't think email will die because, again, depending on how you basically explain your business to the customer. So, for example, when we acquire, we make it very clear to our new members that you will get X amount of emails because that's how we keep you updated with all the sales launching daily. And you don't have to be necessarily subscribed. You can unsubscribe at any point, or you can choose to see those sales on any other channel. So we can show, for example, new sales on Facebook through ads, as an example, instead of emails.
So I can share one innovation that we are seeing on the email front that I think could be a game changer for everyone in this room. I refer to it, for lack of a better description, as in-email payment. The same way there's sort of in-mobile payment. This idea that at Emarsys, we've done a lot of research around this idea that email is going to move from a traffic channel to a transaction channel. And what I mean by that, and I'd love to get your point of view on this, Alex, is think about everyone in this room. If we sent you an email, our primary goal is for you to click on the email, go to our website, and still we have an abandonment rate that is far too high. A lot of researchers and a lot of innovations being done right now around this idea that I can deliver to Alex a product in an email with a buy button inside the email. That would fundamentally change email from a traffic channel, just about driving traffic to the website, to a transaction platform. And I don't want to overstate this, but at Emarsys, we believe it could unleash an enormous amount of innovation and opportunity. So just real quickly, what would it mean to your business is if every email that you sent, someone could actually buy directly inside the email what you were presenting to them?
I think that would be amazing because I think, and also relating to probably your first question, is that yes, that's true. Probably email will die in the current state, you know it. But as it evolves, and it will be fantastic if you could buy a product straight from your email, because that will mean that you'll shorten the customer journey and the path for conversion. So I think that will add a lot of value if at any point that would be possible.
So everybody, I think this is being recorded. You can come back and test me.
So
I will tell everyone in this room, you will buy something inside of an email inside the next 36 months. That will happen.
So we'll hold you accountable for that.
Yes, you can hold me accountable. And my punishment will be I have to keep coming back to Paris over and over and over. No, I love this city.
That happens.
I want to come back as many times as I possibly can. So real quickly, active customers. There's no one in this room, there's no one at this conference that would not like to have more customers.
Of course.
No one. I've never met with anybody that's like, I need fewer customers. I've got too many of them. So my question for you is twofold. One, at BrandAlley, how do you define active customer? And then secondly, what specifically are you doing to try to drive more repeat purchases, drive more engagement in your active customer base?
So there's a lot of definitions for active customers, to be honest, and most of them are based for unique customer journey. So the definition we have for active customers is purely based on our customers. So we define active customers, people that have purchased 2 or more times in the last 12 months. And how we make them purchase more than 2 or more times in the last 12 months is mainly through emails, going back through emails. So our vast majority of the revenue actually comes from email channel. But the most important with the email channel is the content and how you're going to target those people. So we send about, I think, 32 million at this point emails a month, and that's a very, very big number. But the reason it works for us, sending such big volumes of emails, and the reason we have a big and growing active customer base, is because we're showing the right content to those customers. So we show them what they're most likely to buy. We engage with them not just on email, but on other channels as well to basically keep that relevancy up. So it's really important. I think the product is really important, and the way you showcase it to your customers as well.
So This next conversation I would love to have with you around database is we have always preached, and we have a point of view that a marketer's database of their customers should be literally an asset that they track. Everybody's got goals and aspirations, and everybody's got a message they want to send, and every merchandiser wants to send an email to the person that they want to send an email to. How at BrandAlley are you finding balance between getting your executive team and everyone in your organization understanding that the database is an asset and something that we've got to treat with the right amount of strategic point of view and not overburden them with interactions or email or offers or discounts?
So yeah, even though we do send large amounts of emails, we are very careful about the content we put in there and about the frequency of those emails as well. So the way we would target our database is by case-by-case scenario. So we use smart insights and AI to make a decision for individual customer. So for example, Alan, who is, let's say, browsing the website 5 times a day, we see him very
Handsome.
engaged. Very handsome, yes.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
We see him very engaged. So because he's very engaged, we might actually choose to target them, let's say, with quite few emails because we see that he wants to buy something. But we have another customer on the other side that browses the website once every 2 months. He's never bought anything in his lifetime with BrandAlley, so he's not very active, he's not really engaging. So for that particular customer, we might decide, well, we're not gonna really target this customer too often because he's not too engaged with us. So we might send him an email every couple of months and maybe show him a Facebook ad, for example, every now and then to remind him that BrandAlley is still here. So it's all about how you choose to target your database and how often, because that's really important. You don't really want to spam someone with an email every day of every hour of the day.
So final question on this topic before we go on to the next metric. I'm always curious of this. Who is the data czar? At the end of the day, if someone wants access to your database in your organization, who is the ultimate decider? Is it decision by committee? Is it the CEO? Is it you? I'm always curious, who if there's a debate between who's got access to the database, who decides?
So in terms of any communications, all communications targeting the database goes by me. So if, for example...
You're responsible.
So I'm responsible. So if someone wants to send an email, they need to get approval first, if it's outside the already planned emails. And then outside that, we don't engage in any kind of database selling or anything like that. So our customers are very protective, so we don't have to make that decision.
So moving this conversation forward, at Emarsys, we're trying to advance this point of view that human-driven personalization doesn't scale, but that every single consumer deserves a personal interaction. So we are introducing this idea of a personalization index, like where a company could decide how personal are my interactions with my consumers. And what I can share with everyone in this room, and Alex, you and I have had this conversation, I have never met with a CMO who told me that their strategy was to send less personalized messages to fewer people. No one has ever said that. They always want a more personalized experience. So I guess for BrandAlley on this personalization index, what's your point of view? I mean, internally, as y'all talk about personalization, I want to see it 100%. I know that I'm not getting 100%. What is BrandAlley doing to try to drive personalization in the organization?
We actually do 100% of personalization in our emails. So actually, the funny thing, the one question I hear every single month is from our chairman, and the question is, Alex, how can we send more emails? Yes. So personalization is very important for that, because obviously you can't just send one generic message to everyone and then hope for the best. It's just not how things work anymore. It was fine maybe 10 years ago, but it's not the case anymore. So personalization on a case-by-case basis, I think, is massively important, especially so if you rely heavily on emails, because the inbox placements are becoming harder and harder to reach. And personalization will be that extra, let's say, helper to make sure that you get in their inboxes, and after that, you show the right message and the right content, even if it's a product, an incentive, a store location, or whatever the message would be.
Great feedback. So the last thing that I would love to ask you a question about before we open the floor for questions from the audience is this. Following up on this idea of personalization, the question is, what's the right number of SKUs? Everyone in this room probably has had this debate, whether you're in marketing or merchandising. What's the right number? What I personally see is too many e-commerce retailers having this debate instead of really thinking about the number of SKUs don't matter really if you're driving personalization, because you, Alex, are only going to see the 3 SKUs that I think you're most interested in, or the machine has personalized for you. So internally, you had shared with me that at BrandAlley at one time you had 2 million SKUs. They're not all active, but 2 million SKUs. What's your point of view on what the right number of SKUs is, and how do you have that debate internally?
It's a very difficult topic, to be honest, and I'm sure no one has the right answer for this. The thing is that it takes a lot of time to convince merchandise and the rest of the company of the amount of SKUs or the amount of products that it's optimal to have on the website. And if I'm completely honest, that's not going to change anytime soon. Because even though you see that your customers are only shopping, let's say, 10% of your products, there's still that unknown that you hear merchandise saying, well, what if? But what if they buy the rest of the 80%, or what if? So it's really, really hard to argue with that. And the other thing is that even if, as a company, you start relying on more technology to drive your, let's say, your buying patterns, that data and kind of learning takes a lot of time. So even if you acquire a product right now that will be able to tell you what brands or SKUs or products to buy, you'll need at least 12 to 18 months to actually gather that data. So it's going to be a long process, and to be honest, I don't know what the outcome would be for that. We have started, for example, with us, we have started to mix a bit in terms of merchandise, to mix a bit of the way we do it. So we don't have only buyers deciding what we're going to have on the website next month. We actually couple that data, or let's say their knowledge, because they do have a lot of knowledge as buyers, with data coming from our customers, and then we kind of try to make a decision based on these 2, let's say, metrics.
Fantastic. So real quickly, I would tell everybody that's in the room, this conversation that we're having around human-driven personalization not scaling, the role of the marketer needing to change, focused on these key metrics, I know that I am fully committed as a marketing leader, I'm sure you are also, of sharing as much information as possible to help as many brands as possible find success, so that consumers ultimately end up being the winner. We're going to start a global content series around the world called Revolution. We really think that there's time for a revolution. We think that the work that the marketer's doing, whether it's importing data, exporting data, dragging and dropping, building segments, needs to change. And we're going to have our first Revolution event in Berlin on October the 23rd and 24th. We've got a lineup of amazing speakers. And my commitment to everyone on the stage and to the video and anybody that's watching either live stream or watches this later is that Emarsys will lead this conversation around how marketers can deliver a better personalized experience to consumers and make your work better. I mean, Alex, for you, I want your team focused on strategy and content and creative. I don't want them focused on other things. So with that, that's the end of our content, but we want to open the floor for questions. There are no bad questions. I would only ask, if it's in French, that my handsome partner here translate for me. Any questions? No questions are bad.
Somebody? Quelqu'un veut poser des questions? Le micro va arriver.
Thank you very much for taking the time today to be with
Excited
us.
to be here. Excited to be here.
For a marketer with your digital maturity, what do you think about artificial intelligence and machine learning to take the personalization one step further in your communication? What do you think of these technologies?
Here's what I would say. I think any emerging technology, whether it's data science or machine learning or AI, is is interesting. And this is the reason why I say interesting, because my point of view on all of these technologies is that they're an enabling technology. That's it. This idea that you can take a bad campaign and spray it with AI and it makes it a good campaign is simply not true. Now, at Emarsys, as an example, we do a lot of data science, a lot of machine learning. We vertically integrated AI into our platform, but we fully understand that it's an enabling technology. What the marketer needs, Alex and her team, I don't want to speak for you, but you don't need another technology. You need a solution. You need something that helps you manifest personalization for your consumers. So my personal point of view is I'm excited about what it means for the future, but I just want to continue to advocate that it is enabling technology. When used poorly, it will have poor results. When used correctly, I think it can have a transformational effect on marketing, and I want to be a voice that says it's interesting, it's powerful, it will change the world as we know it, but it also can be used inappropriately.
Definitely. I think it will be interesting to see as well how personalization kind of evolves and goes forward. And I think we've seen a lot more personalization happening in emails, for example, than anywhere else. And for example, on websites, there's very little personalization, if really close to nothing on some other websites. So I think what I'm really looking forward to see is how personalization is going to take a step forward and deliver more relevant content on other platforms and other channels.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Any question? D'autres questions? N'ayez pas peur, don't be afraid.
Please.
Yeah,
Please.
Alex wants a question.
Lots of questions.
Yeah, Alex too. N'hésitez pas. Do not hesitate.
I think we have another one.
Yeah, we got it.
Hello. I have a question for Alex. For you, what's the most important thing? What's the 3 strong points that you see in Emarsys solution?
I think if I would choose just one, it'd probably be focusing on acquisition and a tool that we've been using for acquisition a lot, and it's basically building lookalike directly from our CRM. So we use this tool called CRM Ads within Emarsys that basically is connected to our CRM, and we say, okay, I want to target a group of people that have an interest towards mulberry, just find me prospects that are matching all these details. And because we're focusing on acquisition, I think this is what I would pick as my favorite, let's say, tool that we use.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Alex. Somebody else? Ah. Le micro arrive.
Hi. I'm wondering, how can I make sure I'm quite seduced by this such technology, but how can I know if the company I work for is ready for AI, is ready for such technology?
I think in terms of how we did it, for example, at BrandAlley, is that first we made sure that we have everything handled on the customer side. So we have a clean and up-to-date database to kind of start working on, and then we have enough data on those customers to basically feed into all these different technologies we use. I would say it's just one of those things that I guess until you kind of like start using it, you won't really know where it's going to take you. And probably, I remember when we started using a lot of technology to drive acquisition and retention, it was, we had so many tools to use, and for like a few weeks we were like, okay, so where do we start? Because that's quite confusing. But I think it's just one of the things. You kind of have to get everyone on board first of all, and I think whomever you decide to kind of work with can help you to pitch different technology or tools to your company. To kind of make sure you get the right product. And I think for us, at least afterwards, it kind of was like a smooth journey.
I think the only thing I would add to that for everyone in the room is please leave knowing this. I believe in my heart that the human makes the machine better, not the machine makes the human better. At the end of the day, the more technology can allow all of us marketers that are in this room to spend time on strategy and on content and on creative, and let the machine do more what I would consider to be execution or manual lifting, that's the world, honestly, as a marketer, that's the world I want to live in. I can certainly tell you, I never got into marketing so that I could import and export CSV files. That was never my intention. And what I can tell you this, everyone in the room knows this, I've never met with a marketer who said, I have too much time to do strategy, too much time to develop really great content, too much time to do amazing creative and test different things. Marketers, I have such empathy for marketers because the job, too many tools, too many choices, too much data. So what I can tell everybody is that the reason I am personally excited in any emerging technology, whether it's data science, machine learning, AI, or whatever will come in the future, is if any of those technologies help a marketer spend more time on strategy, spend more time on content development, and spend more time on creative, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be excited about it because I know that marketers have a special point of view on the world, whether it's a merchandiser or a content person or a blog writer, and I want that point of view. I want to live in that world. I've sometimes referred to it as a creative renaissance. You know, we're in Paris. I think you know something about a renaissance. And I want to be a part of a creative renaissance where everyone in this room is spending time on strategy and on content and on creative. That's what I want to see.
And I think if I can add to that is that it doesn't really matter what technology you get on board. It's just having to understand the fact that you do have to do something though, because the customer evolves and has different expectations as time goes on. So the customer expects more personalization, more relevant topics and content. So either way you decide to do it, you just have to do it somehow.
Okay, thank you very much for
thank
this
you guys.
very
Thank you so
interesting
much.
aid to it.
Thank you.
Finally,
Alex, thank you.
Finally, tools are changing, not the rules. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ok. On va reprendre une keynote en français. Nous allons enchaîner tout de suite avec, là aussi, une intervention de haut niveau, puisque nous allons recevoir Google sur scène. Le temps d'installer et de faire le switch, et on reprend tout de suite avec la keynote de Google.